Donald Trump has had the idea to build a border wall on the United States-Mexican border for years. Even before his election, he used the idea of a border wall to gain votes. Donald Trump has had two main reasons for wanting a border wall. One, to keep out all of the illegal immigrants, and two, to prevent drug trafficking. There are also many factors that prevent Trump from building a border wall. One factor is all the legal issues that circle around the land that the border is on. Another factor is the extreme expense of the wall that Donald Trump claims will be worth the cost. One last factor is the effect of the wall. If it does not actually keep out illegal immigrants and drugs, it will not be worth the effort of paying and for building it. So Donald Trump's border wall is not necessary for the United States, and it has many downfalls. So let's first talk about the cost of the border wall. The cost of the border is much more than Trump's estimated $5 billion. Trump from the start said that he would need $5 billion to build a wall. The border of Mexico and the United States is approximately 1,954 miles long, which means that a wall would also have to stretch to that extent to cover the entire border. According to Felicia Prasad, it took $60 million and 2 million cubic yards of dirt alone to fill in the canyon approximately 2 miles. If 2 miles of the border wall alone costs $2 million to be constructed properly, that would mean that the entirety of the border wall could cost anywhere from $50 billion to $60 billion. That being said, Donald Trump either did not do his math correctly or he just spat out a number that he thought sounded good. The high amount of money that Donald Trump wants for a wall could be put into things much better than a wall. There are also many legal obstacles that are in Trump's way that deal with building a wall, aside from the cost. About 2/3 of the borderland is owned by private parties or tribes, and neither want to give up their land for a border wall. Because of this, the government has had to file over 400 lawsuits in the past decade to be able to build any border security on the land. Donald Trump must not realize the amount of time this part of the wall building process will actually take. One legal obstacle that Trump will have to deal with are the Native Americans that have property on the border. The Native Americans have the power to prevent a wall from being built. The Native American tribe Tohono O'odham have cooperated with the government before, but they ended up being greatly mistreated and disrespected. According to David Beer, in 2007, when the tribe allowed vehicle barriers to be constructed, the Bush administration ended up desecrating Indian burial grounds and digging up human remains. Because this happened, the natives vowed to fight whoever came onto their land to build the wall. So Trump will have to find a way to please the Native Americans first before building on their land. The people who live close on the border, the people who live close to the border that have cooperated with the government in giving up their land by the border are also not put into consideration. One man and his family from Brownsville, Texas were put into a bad situation. Their house was on the wrong side of the border. The government bought the part of their land that was covered by the border for only a few $1,000s. And when the 18-foot wall was built on the border, the family's property was separated, with some of it on one side of the border and some on the wrong side. After this occurred, the man's property was useless. According to the pros and cons of a Mexican border wall, when he went to take out a loan to send his 3 girls to college, he wasn't able to do so. The fence had made his property virtually worthless. After his land was considered useless, his house proceeded to burn down. His house could have been easily saved, but because it was on the wrong side of the border, the fire trucks couldn't get to the house. Incidents like these show that Donald Trump and the government have no respect for people living on the border. Their only goal is to build a border wall. Aside from the cost and legal issues, animals will also be affected by the border wall. The national parks on the border are also in danger if a border wall were to be built. Human development over the years has destroyed the natural environment for animals over the years, and the wall would only add to the effect. There is a butterfly conservation located in Texas that would be greatly affected by the wall being built. According to U.S. President Donald Trump's wall would hurt wildlife. Construction of the wall, should it receive funding, will eradicate large amounts of natural habitat, including host plants essential for the feeding and reproduction of butterflies. Building a wall there would extremely endanger butterflies, and if it doesn't completely wipe them out. The pygmy owl would also be affected from a wall being built, or would also be affected from the wall being built. Because of the bird's altitude of flying being so low, they wouldn't be able to fly over the wall, which wouldn't allow them to follow their regular migration cycles. Another natural park, the Big Bend National Park, would also be hurt with the border wall being built. This national park is inhabited by large animals like black bears and wildcats. According to Angela Koherga, a wall would destroy the park's scenic beauty and threaten wildlife, including the return of the black bear to Texas. The black bears in the area were overhunted in the 1950s, and a wall would prevent them from recovering from that. The protection efforts for the wildcats in the area would also be affected if a wall were to be put up there. One question frequently asked is if a border wall will actually keep out illegal immigrants. There are many different border crossing strategies that have been used by illegal immigrants that show a wall on the border would have no effect. One strategy is tunneling. Tunneling is a perfectly effective way to illegally cross the border. According to David Beer, for every tunnel we find, we feel they're building another one somewhere. Even if tunnels are found on the border, there are still plenty of unfound tunnels being used to illegally cross into the United States. Another strategy used is the ladder and rope. It doesn't matter how high a wall can be built. With the right size ladder and rope, most illegal immigrants could scale the wall within minutes. A wall may be strong and sturdy, but there are still plenty of ways to get around it. So now that you have learned more about the negative effects and downfalls of the Donald Trump's border wall, I hope that you will have a different outlook on the subject. In conclusion, there are many downfalls and obstacles that prevent Donald Trump's border wall from being built. Donald Trump has greatly underestimated the cost for a border wall. For building a border wall, the actual cost for a wall to be built is far too expensive to be realistic for the United States. People on the border do not want to give up their land, and for those who do give up their land are very mistreated. Also, there are tribes on the border that will not allow a border wall to go up on their land because of previous mishaps that the government caused. Building a wall could also cause environmental issues for animals in and outside of national parks on the border. The border wall may help prevent illegal crossings, but there are also many things that work against the chances of a wall being built. So, the odds of one being put up on the United States and Mexican border are very unlikely.